Welcome back to Mission of the Chosen. Tonight we're entering sacred ground together, and heaven is waiting to release something urgent. Stay close, because your midnight hour is about to change everything. You've carried this quiet unease for longer than you'd admit. The world around you keeps rushing forward, work deadlines, family needs, endless notifications. But deep inside, you sense a different rhythm, one that doesn't match the noise. That restlessness isn't failure, and it isn't madness. It's your spirit reacting to a divine pull. Some nights you've even jolted awake, heart pounding, without knowing why. That is not coincidence. That is training. I want you to imagine midnight differently from now on. To most people, it's just another number glowing on the clock. To heaven, it is a doorway. At midnight, the spiritual atmosphere shifts. Angels prepare their orders. Shadows reposition. Your soul becomes more sensitive to what most people never notice. You are not watching this by chance. Something in your spirit brought you here tonight, and heaven will not waste that hunger. Some of you have been with this channel for a while. You've commented, prayed, and encouraged when others stayed silent. You've even helped carry this mission when oversubscription meant more souls were reaching out than we could possibly answer. But here's the truth: God has heard every one of you. Your consistency in seeking, in staying awake, is why this word has found you at this exact moment. Now let's be honest. You've been carrying questions that feel heavier than stones in your chest. Why me, Lord? Why does the breakthrough take so long? Why do others find answers while my prayers echo in silence? These are not weak questions. They are the very questions the enemy tries to twist into despair. He prowls like a lion. Scripture tells us in 1 Peter 5-8, not because you are weak, but because you are worth the hunt. The adversary studies your patterns, your breaking points, waiting for the exact moment when your spirit is weary. But here is the mystery that shakes him. God has been using that very weariness as preparation. Every unanswered prayer has been carving out space inside you. Every tear has watered soil that looked barren but is about to bloom. Psalm 56-8 says, "He gathers every tear in his bottle." Can you believe that? Not one has evaporated into nothing. Each has been kept as evidence that heaven saw your struggle. I need you to breathe slowly and listen. The world may dismiss midnight as empty hours, but in the unseen realm, midnight is when the veil grows thin. Joel 2:28 isn't a poetic dream. It's a living promise. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Tonight, that includes you. You've thought you were invisible, that your name has slipped from God's memory. But the opposite is true. Tonight, your name is being spoken aloud in the courts of heaven. Let's talk about purification. Nobody likes that word because it sounds painful. But think about gold. When it enters fire, it doesn't disintegrate, it shines. You've asked, why does it hurt so much? Why does God seem slow? The answer is that He's refining you for authority that an unprepared soul couldn't carry. Authority without purity is destruction. Authority forged in fire becomes unshakable strength. You haven't been delayed. You've been prepared. Some of you believe your age disqualifies you. Let me destroy that lie right now. Moses was 80 when he encountered the burning bush. Anna was in her 80s when she recognized the Christ child. Heaven doesn't measure usefulness in birthdays. Every year you've walked has been sharpening discernment. Every gray hair is a testimony of endurance. Tonight, the very things the world calls limitations, heaven calls qualifications. Relationships are shifting too. Some voices have grown silent, some people have pulled away, and you've wondered if it was your fault. But what looks like rejection is often redirection. God is rearranging the chessboard of your life, moving pieces you thought were permanent. He is pulling weeds that you mistook for flowers. Do not chase after what He has chosen to remove. Make room for what He is about to plant. And here's where the battle sharpens. The enemy knows what God is planning. His weapon of choice tonight isn't always temptation, it's distraction. One text message, one sudden memory, one tiny compromise, and your focus slips. Distraction at midnight can steal a destiny that was minutes away from unfolding. That's why Jesus said in Matthew 26-41, "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." Tonight, distraction is not inconvenience, it is spiritual sabotage. So here's what I ask you to do. Create sacred space. Put away the phone, silence the television, tell your family you need this moment. Whisper aloud, "Lord, prepare my heart for midnight. As you speak, notice the atmosphere shifting. That isn't imagination, that is heaven responding. Understand this clearly. Midnight is not punishment, it is preparation. God is not trying to break you down. He is building you up for an assignment that hell itself has tried to block. If you could see the unseen, you'd realize both heaven and hell are watching you right now. The enemy trembles because he knows one thing: if you surrender tonight, his grip shatters forever. Remember this: sacred moments demand sacred attention. Don't brush off what you feel right now as just another video. This is an encounter. You are standing on holy ground, not by accident, but by design. Midnight stands before you like a locked gate. One key belongs to the enemy: distraction, despair, old wounds. The other key belongs to you: faith, surrender, focus. Which one you choose tonight will write tomorrow's story in heaven's book. Whisper your answer, not for me, but for the throne listening right now. I choose the key of faith. The night is alive in ways you cannot measure with eyes or ears. You've sensed it before, that stillness that feels heavier than silence, as if the air itself is waiting. Heaven often hides its greatest moves in the hours when most of the world is asleep. Right now, you're awake because God refuses to let you miss what's being birthed. Think back over the last few months. Haven't you noticed patterns? The moments when you were closest to breakthrough, suddenly arguments flared, temptations resurfaced, chaos hit your doorstep. That wasn't random, that was fixation. The enemy will do everything to keep your mind locked on failure, your heart chained to grief, your eyes distracted by fear. He doesn't need to destroy you if he can simply keep you distracted long enough to miss your moment. But tonight, God is shifting focus. Where the enemy tries to fix your eyes on wounds, God demands you fix your gaze on resurrection. Isaiah 43:19 declares, "Behold, I will do a new thing, now it shall spring forth. New things never crawl, they burst." Your future is not limping toward you. It is rushing like a flood about to break its banks. You may feel tired, unqualified, or left behind, but God sees you differently. What looks like weakness to others is preparation to him. Remember Elijah under the broom tree, exhausted, begging for death? Heaven fed him, strengthened him, and sent him back to finish the mission. Your weariness doesn't disqualify you. It sets the stage for God's strength to be magnified. Right now, the unseen realm is more active than your senses can comprehend. Angels are receiving assignments, positioning themselves near your home, near your children, near the very places the enemy thought he had free access. Darkness is trembling because it knows once you fully awaken, it cannot stop what God has decreed. I want you to hear this clearly. Your midnight prayers carry more weight than daytime chatter. In the quiet hours when no one else sees, heaven bends closer. Those whispered words, those aching sighs, they rise like incense before the throne. And while you may have thought they bounced off the ceiling, God has been collecting them, weaving them into the fabric of your destiny. But the choice remains yours: distraction or devotion, fear or focus. One will close the gate, the other will unlock the miracle. Tonight isn't about being entertained by words, it's about aligning with heaven's rhythm. If your spirit is stirring, don't ignore it. That is confirmation. Say out loud, even if softly, "I choose to stay awake in spirit." It's not a slogan, it's a covenant. Heaven responds to declarations spoken in faith, and demons retreat when they realize you are serious. Breathe deep, feel that heaviness in the room. That is not oppression, that is presence. The King of Kings is near. He doesn't come with noise or spectacle, he comes with authority. He comes with fire that purifies and light that reveals. And when he arrives, nothing, absolutely nothing, stays the same. The hour is not waiting for you to feel ready. The clock keeps moving. Heaven is asking one question that cannot be ignored. Will you hand me the very thing that has been breaking you? Answer carefully, because silence is still an answer. Tonight the line is drawn. The enemy will chain you tighter if you hesitate, but if you surrender, chains will snap like brittle glass under a hammer. Midnight will either mark the night you stayed bound or the night you rose free. The choice is written in your spirit before it ever shows in your life. Speak it, declare it, and watch the unseen world respond. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle shift inside, like the atmosphere around you is holding its breath. This is the threshold moment, when ordinary hours become holy ground. Tonight is not about replaying old sermons or recycling words you've already heard. Tonight, heaven wants to reveal the strategy behind your long season of silence. Why does God sometimes remain quiet when you've begged for answers? Because silence is never absence, it's alignment. Think of a master chess player sitting still while the opponent scrambles. God's silence has not been neglect. It has been the patience of a strategist waiting until every piece is in place. The silence that frustrated you was actually positioning you. But silence can be dangerous if misinterpreted. The enemy whispers lies in those quiet gaps. You're forgotten. You've failed. You're unworthy. He knows the human heart hates unanswered questions, so he fills the void with deception. That's why your midnight season felt so suffocating. It wasn't empty. It was contested. Listen carefully. Heaven showed me that your midnight silence has been a battlefield. Angels have been guarding territory around you while demons fought to slip through cracks of doubt. Your sleepless nights, the heaviness on your chest, the tears you didn't explain to anyone, those weren't wasted. They were proof that something unseen was fighting for your soul. Now here's the shift. The silence is ending. The same God who whispered to Elijah in a still small voice is about to speak into your spirit with clarity sharper than a blade. His words will not come to entertain you. They will come to separate truth from lies, to pierce through fog, to expose every fixation the enemy has tried to plant in your thoughts. I know you've wondered why the pressure has been heavier lately. It's because the enemy senses what's coming. He always thrashes before he loses his grip. The closer you are to breakthrough, the louder his noise becomes. But noise is not authority. Remember when Jesus slept through the storm? The waves screamed, but his authority silenced them with one command. That same authority rests on you tonight. Take a moment right now. Close your eyes, place your hand on your chest, feel your heartbeat. That rhythm is not random, it's God's reminder that your spirit is still alive, still fighting, still chosen for something greater. Every beat is heaven saying, you are not finished yet. There's another reason the silence lingered. God wanted you to learn his voice without distractions. When everything else is stripped away, when friends can't answer, when even pastors can't provide clarity, you discover how to hear him directly. That gift, discernment, will protect you more than money, more than influence, more than human approval. Tonight, he sharpens it. You will notice it in the days ahead. A text you feel prompted not to answer. A place you suddenly feel uneasy about visiting. A peace that settles when you pray for someone you haven't thought of in years. These are not coincidences. These are divine signals, the fruit of your silent training. Do not despise the silence that brought you here. Celebrate it. Thank God for it, because the very silence that broke you also built you. And now, as midnight approaches, silence gives way to revelation. Midnight doesn't ask for your comfort, it asks for your courage. Heaven's voice is ready to break open what silence has been protecting. When you choose to lean in, the stillness becomes a trumpet, and the quiet turns into clarity. Let your spirit answer with boldness, I am listening, Lord. That response unlocks what the silence has been hiding all along. There's a heaviness in the air tonight, not the kind that crushes you, but the kind that tells you something weighty is shifting. You've felt it around certain people lately, the sudden distance where closeness once lived, the awkward silence replacing old laughter, the invisible wall you can't explain. This is not random. Heaven is rearranging your relational landscape with precision sharper than any blade. You see, relationships are one of the enemy's favorite battlegrounds. He doesn't always come after you with direct attacks. Sometimes he uses the people around you, old friends who can't understand your growth, family members who suddenly resent your peace, companions who once celebrated you but now compete with you. These changes hurt because they touch the deepest part of us, our need to belong. But listen carefully. What feels like rejection is often protection. Ecclesiastes reminds us that there is a time for everything, a time to keep and a time to let go. The truth is, not everyone is meant to cross into your next season. Some were only written into the earlier chapters of your story. When they leave, it isn't always betrayal. Sometimes it's God clearing the stage for new characters he has prepared. But I won't lie to you. Letting go cuts deep. You've lain awake at 2 a.m, replaying conversations, blaming yourself for words unspoken, wondering if you could have done more to keep them. That spiral of self-blame is exactly what the enemy wants. He wants you chained to what left, so you miss what's arriving. Hear this. If someone could walk away from you, they were not assigned to carry your calling. If they could turn their back when you needed them most, their role in your life was complete. You are not less valuable because they left. You are more available for what God is sending. Look closely, because new alignments are forming even now. People you never expected will step in with loyalty, with prayer, with understanding that feels supernatural. They will not just walk with you, they will run beside you. Some of you will meet spiritual family that will support you more fiercely than blood relatives. This is divine appointment. Heaven is replacing what was lost with what is real. Still, there's a warning here. Do not chase after what God has removed. Don't beg someone to stay who God has already released. If you do, you'll find yourself clinging to weeds while God tries to place treasure in your hands. Release them. Say it aloud if you must. I let them go, Lord. There is healing power in surrender. The midnight fixations you've heard about are not only about personal struggles, they're also about relational ones. The enemy tries to fix your heart on those who left, to keep you bitter, stuck, endlessly rehearsing the pain. But God's fixation is on renewal. He is fixating your path toward people who will guard your destiny, not drain it. Pay attention to the stirring you feel when certain names come to mind. If thinking of someone brings heaviness, it may be a sign of release. If thinking of someone brings peace, it may be a sign of divine connection. Trust the Spirit's guidance. Discernment in relationships will protect you more than cleverness ever could. And when it hurts, remember Jesus too was abandoned, friends scattered, Peter denied him, Judas betrayed him, yet the empty spaces only made room for resurrection. Your empty spaces are not endings. They are invitations for new beginnings. Every departure is a doorway. Every arrival is an answer. Let go of what was, so your hands are free to receive what is. Tonight, whisper into the silence, I release who left, and I embrace who's coming. With those words, heaven shifts, and the battlefield of relationships becomes the birthplace of divine alignment. You've felt it, haven't you? That pressure on your thoughts when everything else is quiet. The tug of war inside your mind at midnight is not imagination, it is spiritual warfare. The enemy doesn't always attack your body first, he attacks your focus. If he can hijack your attention, he can derail your destiny. Think about it. How many times have you been moments away from peace, only to be bombarded with thoughts of bills, regrets, or memories that cut deep? That's not coincidence, that's fixation. The adversary knows he can't erase God's promises over your life, so he tries to drown them in noise. But here's the truth the enemy doesn't want you to see. Your focus is your weapon. When you learn to guard your thoughts, to silence the lies and center your spirit, you disarm his strategy completely. Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 10-5 about taking every thought captive to obey Christ. This isn't poetic language, it's a battle command. Your midnight prayers have more power than you realize. Every whispered, "Help me, Lord," in the dark hours, sends shockwaves into the unseen. The enemy hates it because those prayers pierce through the fog of distraction. That's why your phone rings at inconvenient moments. That's why temptations resurface just as you're about to find clarity. Distraction is the devil's camouflage. Tonight, I want you to imagine your mind as a battlefield. Every negative thought is an arrow. Every anxious worry is a dart. But your declarations, your whispered scriptures, your surrendered prayers are shields and swords. When you speak God's promises out loud, you don't just comfort yourself, you change the atmosphere. Heaven responds to faith-filled words. Maybe you've told yourself, I just need more strength, more willpower. No, what you need is focus. Strength without direction is wasted energy. Focus channels strength into breakthrough. That's why Jesus told his disciples in Matthew 26-41, watch and pray. Watching means focus, praying means surrender. Together they become unstoppable. The truth is, many never see their miracle because they couldn't stay focused in the crucial moment. They let one distraction, one doubt, one careless thought pull them away. But that won't be you, not tonight. Tonight, you are learning to recognize the enemy's tricks for what they are, smoke and mirrors. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Right now, speak aloud these words. I choose focus. I choose faith. Don't just think it, say it. Let your voice mark the atmosphere. Each syllable you release is a strike against the darkness trying to scatter your mind. You may not feel different instantly, but the unseen realm is shifting as you speak. Angels stand at attention, demons retreat. The very air grows heavier with divine presence. You are not weak, you are awakening. Remember this, the greatest miracles often come quietly, wrapped in focus. Elijah didn't hear God in the wind or fire, but in the whisper. When you tune your spirit to the whisper, no roar of the enemy can overwhelm you. Distraction is a thief, focus is a crown. Tonight, the crown is being offered to you. Place it on your head with confidence. Declare it boldly, my mind is set, my spirit is awake, my focus belongs to God. When you wear that crown, every fixation of the enemy crumbles, and your midnight becomes the birthplace of clarity. There's a reason the pressure has been heavier on your heart these past weeks. It isn't only about your circumstances, it's about the unseen assignments that hang over your destiny. Heaven is rearranging, and the enemy is resisting. You can feel it in the restlessness of your sleep, in the sudden waves of anxiety, in the questions that rise uninvited when you try to pray. That tension is proof that the unseen realm is paying attention to you. But here's what you need to know. Pressure is often the sign of promotion. Think of a seed underground. Before it breaks into light, the soil weighs on it, pressing from every side. To the seed, it feels like burial. To the gardener, it's the process of birth. What you've been calling burial has really been God's planting. This is why certain doors have slammed shut, why opportunities you thought were secure suddenly dissolved, why people you leaned on pulled away. These weren't punishments, they were pruning. And pruning always feels like loss before it feels like growth. Jesus said in John 15 that branches bearing fruit must still be trimmed so they can bear even more. Heaven doesn't settle for small harvests in your life. The pruning hurts because it cuts into places you trusted. But without it, you'd carry weight you were never meant to bear into the next season. Tonight, God is cutting away everything that cannot survive your future. Some of it looks like relationships, some of it looks like habits, some of it looks like mindsets you've clung to out of fear. Whatever it is, let it fall away. Don't confuse pruning with punishment. Punishment is about guilt, pruning is about growth. If God were finished with you, He wouldn't bother trimming. The very fact that He's still cutting means He still sees fruit in you. It means heaven has already seen the harvest you can't yet imagine. Now lean in. The enemy has studied your reactions. He knows you hate the feeling of loss. That's why he tries to fixate you on what's been taken, not on what's being prepared. He wants your mind rehearsing what if and why me, until you're too exhausted to notice what God is planting. Tonight, don't give him that power. Shift your focus from what's gone to what's coming. Say this quietly but with authority. Lord, I trust the pruning. Feel the release that comes with those words. Trust turns pain into power. Trust turns endings into openings. Trust allows God to replace what you thought was irreplaceable with something far greater. Remember Joseph, betrayed by brothers, sold into slavery, thrown into prison. To human eyes, his life looked like ruin. But each cut, each betrayal, was trimming him into the leader Egypt would one day need. Without pruning, he could not have carried the authority that saved nations. Your story is no different. Midnight is the time when pruning turns to positioning. Heaven does its sharpest work in the hidden hours, because transformation rarely happens in public first. It begins underground, in silence, in the soil of surrender. That's what's happening to you tonight. Pruning always leaves a choice. You can cling to what's falling away, or you can lift empty hands to receive what's coming. One keeps you trapped in sorrow, the other ushers you into destiny. Tonight, let your choice be clear. Whisper into the darkness, not as a plea but as a declaration. I release what was, and I embrace what will be. With those words, your midnight pruning becomes the doorway to your dawn. The deeper into the night we go, the more the weight of hidden battles becomes undeniable. You've carried wounds you don't speak of, scars buried under smiles, disappointments you've never dared to confess aloud. At 3 a.m, when the world sleeps, those memories come knocking. The enemy calls it weakness, but God calls it evidence, evidence of everything you've survived, and everything he intends to redeem. Do you remember the story of Jacob wrestling through the night? He didn't walk away unmarked. His hip was touched, and he limped forever. but that limp became the sign of his transformation. He wrestled, he refused to let go, and he emerged with a new name, Israel, a new identity. Some of your greatest battles haven't been punishments, they've been wrestlings designed to rename you. But here's the danger. The enemy wants to lock your identity to your wounds. He whispers, "You are your failures. You are your losses. You are your mistakes." He fixates your heart on the pain so that you forget the purpose. He hopes you'll carry your limp as shame instead of as testimony. Tonight, that lie breaks. The limp is not your defeat, it's your crown. The tears you thought disqualified you are actually qualifications. Remember, Jesus himself wept. Even the Son of God carried visible sorrow, yet through that sorrow, resurrection power flowed. I want you to picture your scars differently. Every scar is a doorway. The cut may have come from betrayal, from illness, from poverty, from loss, but the healing that followed is proof of survival. When the enemy looks at you, he doesn't just see wounds. He sees proof that nothing he tried could kill you. That terrifies him more than your strength. This is why midnight matters so much. Midnight is the hour scars start glowing with purpose. The very memories that once broke you become the keys to minister to others, to intercede with compassion, to stand in authority the enemy cannot counterfeit. You cannot fake scars. You either carry them or you don't. And those who carry them are entrusted with a depth of power that comes only through survival. So tonight, don't hide what you've been through. Don't bury the limp or the scar. Hold it up as proof. Tell heaven, I survived, and I'm still here. When you do, your pain transforms into testimony, and testimony becomes the weapon that silences every lie the enemy hurls your way. The book of Revelation declares, they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Notice it doesn't say they overcame by perfection or by never being wounded. They overcame by bleeding and surviving, by carrying scars that tell a story only God could write. That's you. Tonight, you stand not as a victim, but as a living testimony. Scars don't whisper shame, they roar survival. Lift your head, stretch your hands, and declare it boldly. My scars are not my chains, they are my crown. The moment you believe this, midnight stops being the hour of pain and becomes the hour of coronation. Have you noticed how certain storms seem to strike right before something good begins to break through? The car breaks down the week you finally saved enough. The arguments erupt the night before you're meant to step into something new. It feels like sabotage, and in a way, it is. Because storms are rarely random, they are signals. In the natural, storms can frighten us, but spiritually, storms reveal atmospheres in transition. The winds of resistance are often proof that heaven is shifting something on your behalf. Remember when Jesus said, "Let us go over to the other side"? The storm rose not because they were off course, but because they were on course. The storm wasn't punishment, it was confirmation. Look at your life. How many times have you mistaken confirmation for calamity? How many times have you said, "Why now, Lord," when the pressure built? The truth is, storms often strike when the enemy realizes you're closer than ever to breakthrough. He tries to intimidate, to distract, to wear you down so you'll abandon the journey just short of arrival. But storms also expose. They reveal who's with you, who panics, who prays, and who sleeps through the thunder. In every storm, you discover the truth about your circle. Some people only love calm seas. Others will stay in the boat even when the waves tower. The storm you're in right now is clarifying who belongs in your next chapter. The most powerful thing about storms is this: they answer to a higher voice. The disciples cried out in terror, but Jesus simply spoke, "Peace, be still," and creation obeyed. That same voice speaks over your storm tonight. The winds are not in charge. The waves are not in charge. The thunder is not in charge. The one who spoke galaxies into being is in charge. Your job is not to control the storm. Your job is to anchor your faith. Anchors don't stop the sea from raging, but they stop the ship from drifting. Tonight, God is handing you an anchor made of promises. Every scripture you cling to, every prayer you whisper, every word of faith you declare, these are the links of your anchor chain. The storm may rage, but it cannot rewrite your destination. You're still crossing over. The other side is still waiting. The storm is loud, but it is not final. Storms are not here to drown you. They are here to train you. Every wave you endure strengthens your spirit. Every lightning flash sharpens your vision. Every gust of wind teaches your soul to cling tighter. Tonight, lift your eyes above the storm and declare, I will not be moved. My anchor holds. And in that declaration, the storm loses its grip, and your midnight turns into the path toward dawn. There's a moment in every believer's journey when the old life no longer fits, but the new one hasn't fully taken shape. It feels like standing between two worlds, one familiar but fading, the other radiant but uncertain. That tension you've been living in, that's the space of transformation. Think of a caterpillar sealed in its cocoon. To the outside eye, it looks lifeless, wrapped in darkness. But inside, everything is being rewritten. Its form, its structure, its very identity is dissolving so something unimaginable can emerge. You've been in that cocoon season, hidden, misunderstood, even questioned by those around you. Yet heaven has been busy reshaping the very fabric of your spirit. This is why nothing feels the same. The songs that once comforted you now stir something deeper. The routines you once tolerated feel too small. The relationships that used to fit now feel like clothes 2 sizes too tight. It isn't because you've changed a little, it's because you're being remade entirely. But here's the tension. Transformation hurts. Nobody talks about that part. The cocoon is tight. The darkness is unsettling. The process feels like breaking. And the enemy loves to whisper in those hours, you'll never make it out. This is the end. You're stuck forever. But he lies because he knows the truth. Breaking always comes before birthing. God doesn't leave his children sealed away to die. He allows the pressure of transformation to strengthen the very wings you'll need when the cocoon finally breaks. The struggle is necessary. If a butterfly is cut free too early, it never develops the strength to fly. Your midnight struggle isn't cruelty, it's training. Look at your life through this lens. Every season that felt like confinement was building muscles you'll need in freedom. Every unanswered prayer was stretching wings you don't even know you have yet. Every night you wrestled with tears was oxygen being pumped into a new identity. But here's what heaven is whispering tonight. The cocoon is thinning. The shell is weakening. The transformation you thought would never end is about to break open. And when it does, you won't crawl out. You'll rise. You'll move with grace in places you once stumbled. You'll soar in atmospheres you once thought were out of reach. Don't despise this in-between season. Don't curse the cocoon. Without it, you'd never carry the strength to live what God has planned. Thank him for the darkness, because it's proof that light is near. The cocoon is not your coffin, it's your cradle. The enemy calls it death, but heaven calls it birth. Tonight, whisper this truth over your own life. I am not stuck. I am becoming. And as you do, the midnight that once felt like a prison becomes the sacred chamber of your transformation. The night has carried us far, and now we arrive at the edge of something irreversible. You can sense it, the shift in the air, the tension in your chest, the weight of expectation pressing closer. Midnight is no longer approaching. Midnight is here. For some of you, this has been a season of unrelenting questions. You've asked why doors closed, why people left, why the silence was so long, why the pressure felt unbearable. But step back for a moment and see the thread that runs through it all. You are still standing. That alone is evidence that heaven has never abandoned you. Every tear, every restless night, every sigh you whispered when nobody was listening, God heard. More than that, he used them. Your story has not been a waste of pain. It has been a workshop of purpose. You've been forged, not forgotten. Tonight, destiny itself has been waiting for your answer. Will you cling to what chains you, or will you release it and step into the freedom prepared for you? This is why oversubscription to this message, this calling, has been so intense. It's not about a channel or a video. It's about the sheer number of souls heaven has been gathering for this precise hour. You are not alone in this battle. You are part of a movement bigger than yourself. The enemy tried to convince you that your prayers bounced off the ceiling. But here is the truth. They built ladders into heaven. Every time you said, Lord, help me, angels ascended with that plea. Every time you whispered his name through tears, heaven moved. What felt like silence was actually orchestration. The clock has struck, the fixation has arrived, and now, heaven leans down with one question burning brighter than fire. Will you surrender? Will you allow God to fix what the enemy has tried to fracture? Will you step out of cycles that have chained your family for generations? Tonight, the war is invisible, but its impact is eternal. Some of you will feel the weight lift as soon as you whisper yes. Others will notice it in the morning, when the heaviness you thought would never leave has vanished like mist under the Sunday. But make no mistake, something is breaking, something is birthing, something is beginning. Your role is simple but fierce. Stay awake in spirit. Guard your focus. Declare your faith. Don't let distraction steal what destiny is delivering. Say aloud even now, I will not miss my midnight. Those words aren't just noise, they are keys, and the locks they open will never close again. Remember this when doubt tries to return. Your midnight was not a tomb, it was a throne room, and the one seated there has called your name. Midnight has drawn its line in the sand. On one side lies the weight of every chain you've carried. On the other side waits the freedom you were born to walk in. Which side will tomorrow find you on? The choice is in your hands. Whisper it, write it, declare it. I step into freedom, and heaven will answer with thunder.